I want to bring in Justin Shepherd. He's a true crime influencer who's better known as Just in the Nick of Time. And he's just great with the details. Nothing seems to escape you, Justin. It's good to have you on the program. Thanks for doing this. Let's talk about Grandma's will for a hot minute. This I did not see coming, that Grandma would have possibly foreseen something like this. Who puts this kind of thing in their will? Have you learned anything more about the will, the family, and this whole situation?
Well, first, thank you for having me again. It's great to be here. And yeah, I saw that too. And I don't know if I've learned anything new per se, but yeah, it's an ironclad. It said something along the lines of if any of the heirs commit violent or heinous crimes, then they would no longer be entitled to the money. And like you said, it's kind of an odd thing to put in there. We're seeing that could happen. I really don't know what to make of that. The family has a lot of money. We've heard numbers as low as, when I say low, as 30 million, but as high as 100 million. So you're talking about a lot of money that he's got on the line here.
Yeah, from what I've been able to research, it looks like they, had some properties, something called Turf Valley Resort and Hayfields Country Club, as well as radio stations, maybe plural, WCBM AM. They certainly did have a lot of assets. Maybe they still do, I don't know. 10 kids and then untold number of grandchildren that Luigi would be part of. But this is the kind of kid who went to University of Pennsylvania, Ivy League. He could have gone to law school. He could have gone to law school and really taken up the charge if this was his cause célèbre.
Absolutely, he could have. And I think also they own some nursing homes as well, just to remind you on that. But yeah, the family's got a lot of money. He was born with a silver spoon. He's obviously very intelligent, graduated valedictorian from a private school, an expensive private school. Went to an Ivy League school, graduated from there. He could have gone to law school, like you said. He could have then gone into politics and made a difference that way versus this way, because now any opportunity he has for that is very likely gone once the conviction occurs.
Yeah, I would say it's gone, just gone completely. Yeah. And I'm going to just lay it on the line. I think there's going to be a conviction. The mountain of evidence is just so overwhelming. It's almost literally a smoking gun. I got to ask you about this detail today that I didn't know about, and that is that apparently Luigi was turned away from a Pennsylvania hotel. The clerk said he was cagey. What's the background? Which part of his journey did this happen in? And what transpired?
Yeah, so it seems that what happened was he tried to check into a hotel in Altoona, and I believe this was the day that he actually got arrested. And he went in there pretty early in the day and asked if he could get a room. And he was told that all the rooms that they had were dirty, and he could come back later and they would have a room available. He apparently asked if he could wait for one, and the guy basically said, the front desk said no, because he didn't know how long it would be, which is what then led him to leave, I think, and ultimately go to McDonald's. But as I understand it, he didn't want to identify himself. He didn't want to pull his mask down. That's, I think, what they mean by cagey on it. And that's ultimately what led him to McDonald's. I think that, they would have eventually caught up with him. But I think had he been able to check in and go into a room at that time, there might still be a manhunt for him.
You have a lot of followers in Just in Time, and so I'm wondering what a lot of your followers are saying about this conspiracy theory that seems to be spreading online, that they've got the wrong guy, and add to that while you're answering how this really seems to have united two, factions of society that have been at each other's throats, the left and the right. Yeah,
it's very interesting. So the sentiment online about why, the conspiracy that they don't have the right guy, I don't know I think that it stems from photographs and thinking like, well, this looks different. And I think that personally, I think it's the same person in all of them, but a lot of people don't think that based on eyebrows or based on little features here and there. As far as the uniting of the right and the left, yeah, it's really kind of crazy. The sentiments, look, we've talked about this before, Ashleigh. I don't condone murder. You don't condone murder. But at the same time, there isn't a lot of love loss here for Brian Thompson. He's looked upon, regardless of what happened, as a villain by a large portion of the people who are online and even, not online. And Luigi's being looked at as more of a martyr.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.